2018 XP Turbo 4. I'm doing the transmission upgrade. Gives me the lowest gear I possibly can, well, not possibly could get, but trying to get me some lower gears. I'm tired of burning belts up on mine, so I'm trying to get me a gear reduction installed. Looking at this, this is my transmission. I done got it broke down. I built me a little small stand here. It's nothing fancy, just a couple of blocks of wood screwed to a piece of plywood. Sure makes it a lot easier working on it, being it's kind of set there stationary and it's staying flat, so it makes it easier to work with the gears. Let's see, I'm going to go to the 325 Ace, they call it, lowest gear reduction. It'll be this gear and this gear right here, which is all on this, what they call the reverse shaft. It's built onto it, so the whole shaft has to be replaced. This is the gear reduction you see from Super ATV sells it. Turner sells it. I think Super ATVs is almost $500 and Turner's is like $650 for it. But you can buy it. It's just a stock replacement. That's why everybody's coming up with this idea. They call it a 325 gear Ace gear. It's basically the lowest gear ratio that they offer in any transmission. So it works out great to use a stock Polaris gear. So you can order it from Polaris a whole lot cheaper. This is your input shaft right here, straight from your primary is connected to this shaft. They call this the reverse shaft, and I really don't know what they call this. I call it the transfer shaft because it takes, basically this is the transmission and this is your transfer shaft that sends everything out to your front pinion and to your rear differential. Oh, this is a turbo transmission, so I see right off the bat a great advantage. It's got a gear drive for reverse. There's no chain in this transmission at all. This is reverse idler pulley, and this is the reverse gear on the reverse shaft. This is low. This is low gear, and you can see high down there at the bottom and high right here. High is part of the shaft itself, the input shaft, so there's no change in it whatsoever. It's whatever the shaft is, and that's your input for your secondary mounts. My transmission, I wondered why, when I looked it up, it said if you had a four-seater, you would only get a 12.9% reduction. But if you had a two-seater, you'd get the 26 point, almost 27. Let's go ahead and just say 27 on it. And I just couldn't understand why you could get a lower gear ratio out of a two-seater than you could out of a four-seater. So I got into Ronnie's microfiche and got to playing around looking at my parts and trying to figure out what was going on. And I figured it out. My transmission, right here, this gear and this shaft, mine is basically what they call, the gears in it are what they call the 570 gear. So that puts me right in the middle of the road. They make the 325, they make the 570, and then they make the 900. Well, a two-seater turbo, this gear is the 900 gear, so different gear ratio. So that's where I'm getting into the situation where I only get 12. I basically only can step down once, where if you had a two-seater and you change this out, you can step down 2 steps. So that's where the 27 gear comes off. Now, here's the problem I got with that. I don't like the idea of the 27%, because once you change this, this is on your transfer shaft. So that means anything that's inputted into it gets a 26 or 27% reduction. So that means low is reduced by 27%, reverse is 27, and high is 27. So that's going to kill your top side. So you ain't going to have any kind of top side. And, you know, us with turbos, we kind of like to have a little more fun with it on top side. So anyway, found out by just playing around and reading and researching and carried out mine, because I'm running the factory with the mid-range gear. I have a kind of a mid-range low. Mine comes factory with 61 and 31 on low. So got to looking at the two-seater that has the 900 gear has a lower, because this is higher in a two-seater, so this is lower in a two-seater than mine is. But the final gear ratio, by the time input to output between a two-seater and a four-seater, they're only about 0.5% difference between them. So they're basically in and outs basically the same. They just change the way they do it. They do a higher gear here and a lower gear here. So what I'm doing on mine is I'm changing to the 325 here and on the shaft. Then I'm going to change my low two gears out and make them out of a two-seater, which is going to make me lower. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to get basically 12% reduction just by changing these two gears in low. Then I get 12% reduction with changing this in the shaft out. So by changing out 4 items in my transmission, in low, mine is typically a two-seater. But by changing these, and I don't affect reverse and high, I keep the 12.9 on the high and reverse. So that helps me out on top side. So I don't wind up with near as much reduction on my high speed. I am running a little bit larger tires, so that's going to help me there, and I'm going to be almost back to stock with that 12%. Now, I'm not going to quite be there, but it's not going to hurt me that much on top side. But if you run the two-seater, you would have the 27% off of the two-seater all across all 3 gears. A little quick diagram here to show you what I'm talking about. This is my setup under my 18 XPT4. These are my gear numbers that's come mine factory. Again, here's the 3 gear ratios for this, what I call the transfer. I mean, again, I don't know what everybody calls it. It's what they do when they do a low, same gears that Super ATV offers right here. So a turbo, $500, 12% reduction is all you get by changing this 1 gear set here out. So that's basically what the pink gears are listed on here. And mine is factory with this right here, this 570. And I'm going to this one to get me a lower gear. Again, like I was telling about, the two-seaters has this gear in their factory. So there's the 2 steps that I was talking about. You're going down. So that's where you get 12, 12, comes out basically 27%. So, and here's where I was talking about the low gear set. This is basically your transmission right here. These shafts right here. Input from the secondary turns this shaft. So this is your transmission. There's your output to your, I call transfer shaft. And this is on out to your drive shaft and your rear wheels. The orange gears right here that I got marked orange, these are my factory numbers, 6131. And mine's a 4-seater. 2-seater, 6729. So that's a lower gear. So by changing these 2 out here and these 2 out here to this lower gear set, this is what I'm getting right here. I changed mine out with the 325 gear, the XP2 low set. I get 26.6. So it don't quite reach the 27 mark, but it's close enough. And then high and reverse will have 12.9. Like I said, if you just do the upgrade that they offer, the normal upgrade, that's all you get. 12.9, 12.9 on, and then reverse would be 12.9. Reverse always follows high by the way it's set in the gear set, because these two are basically not affected by anything you're changing up here. So high and reverse is basically whatever you get this change to, you're going to have it across all 3 of them, but by changing them like I am, I'm getting lower set. And just by accident, because of all the stuff I've been reading on Ronnie's, there is a Ranger set of gears. There again, you know, Ranger's a lot lower anyway. You can change these 2 gears in mine if I wanted to. Just these 2 gears. They're basically what I call transmission gears up here for low. And what it will do, if you change, just put the Ranger gears in low, you'll wind up with about a 36% reduction. But again, that's lower than portals. Just in low. will have no effect on high and reverse, because like I said, this changing this, you're not changing nothing else, just them 2 gears there, if that's what you want to do. Now, if you really wanted a tractor out of it, you could do the 325 and the Ranger set of gears. In low, you'd have around 50-something%. I got 51 here. It calculates close to that. And then high and reverse would be a 12.9. It's way too low from my point. The 36, I think, would be a little bit too low for me. I'm only running 30s and maybe 31s. So I just don't really want to go that low. But I do like the super low with the 26%. And just for giggles, here's the part numbers of the 325 gears, Polaris gears. The cost is $237, $238 there. Gives you a 12% on my 4-seater. Gives me a 12%, 13% reduction across all my gears. Like I said, that's the same thing as Super ATV is selling here for $500 with 12%. But here's one like I'm talking about I'm changing on mine. I am putting in the 325 gear, and then I'm putting in the low gear out of a XPT4. And like I said, these are the part numbers. So in low, I'll get a 26.6. High will be 12.9, and reverse will be 12.9. And we're looking at 458, 453, somewhere, something that close. Now here is the Ranger transmission gears, as I call them. That if you wanted the 36 point only in low, only, looking at 129. And then here is the if you was going to do the super low, be the gear set, the 325 gear set, and the Ranger transmission low set, you'd have 53.5% in low, 12.9 in high, and 12.9 in reverse. $367. All these prices, like I said, you can see they're from Ronnie's. And I found them on a few other sites. It was a, $5, $10 difference or whatever. So, it's just kind of all in who you want to work. I just like Ronnie's site because it's just so easy to work with the microfiche and to could see everything you got. But just another quick look in here. Like I said, you can see there, reverse is not a chain, it's gear driven. So I feel like that's a whole lot stronger than the old chain. I know there's been a ton of people with videos of breaking chains in them, so I just kind of was glad to see when I popped the cover on mine that there wasn't one in it. Makes me feel a little stronger with the transmission. But real simple to do. Hardest part was just getting it out. Didn't have to take the plastic off. Didn't have to take the bed off or undo anything on the motor. All I had to do was kind of shim the motor up. Once I got off, didn't even have to take the plenum off the motor, the intake plenum, or disconnect any of the intercooler lines or nothing. Like I said, it worked out pretty good. It came right off. The hardest part on this whole ordeal I've run into so far has been pulling the primary off. It's a booger bear. Many videos too showed that for some reason the turbos are horrible for wanting to stay stuck on there. But I'll post another video once I get it all back together and check out everything and see how my reduction really works and how good it works. But I got a good feeling that it's going to work out good. Like I said, I spent several days and evenings riding around on Ronnie's site looking at different units and just trying to figure out how this actually worked. Because again, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but I couldn't understand how I could get a lower gear ratio out of a 2-seater than I could out of a 4-seater by doing the low gear upgrade. That's where I just kind of I said, well, I'm gonna figure this out if it takes me forever. So kind of help everybody else. If anybody else tried to wonder about it themselves, was trying to figure out why they only offered a 12 for the 4-seater and a 26 for the 2-seater. And I'm sure a lot of this has changed because this gear set they call the 325, it's not just in a 325, it's in a bunch of machines. A lot of Rangers has that gear set in it. That's why this is a Polaris part number and it's easy to come by. So anyway, hopefully everybody understands it and just kind of thought somebody else might be in the same boat I was in, just kind of worrying or just kind of wondering how it all worked. So if you have any questions, you can just comment on the video or whatever, and if I know anything else to tell you, I will. If I don't, I'll still tell you that all I know is what I've seen. All right, y'all have a good one.